comic books made more sense. You know it is fictitious without pretense.
Hello, today I thought I'd take a look at Adventures of Super Mario Brothers comics, number 1 from 1991 from Valiant Comics. This is one of two Super Mario Brothers comics that they had produced, ongoing series. One was called Super Mario Brothers, and the other one was called Adventures of the Super Mario Brothers. I think the difference was the Adventures of Super Mario Brothers had a Mario story in it, coupled with a rotating roster of different kinds of stories. This one has Captain N in it. Also, Captain N, the Game Master, which is a Saturday morning cartoon produced by DIC, which had a kid called Captain N, who was a regular kid that went into the Nintendo world, as it were, and teamed up alongside different video game characters. The roster of that show is different than the roster of the comic. So, when I was a kid, I bought these Nintendo comics. Nintendo was white hot. Super Mario Brothers 3 had just come out, and Super Nintendo was on the way as well. This comic represents some Super Mario Brothers 3 imagery. The previous comics coming out of Valiant that featured Super Mario usually had part 1 and 2 imagery in it, like villains, etc. This is a comic from 1991, so there's a lot of NES stuff in here, a lot of commercials. And of course, it's a Nintendo comic, so there will be a lot of Nintendo commercials. Here's Capcom's Little Nemo, the Dream Master. This is probably my first exposure to Little Nemo, and then I realized it was a whole comic strip and all that stuff, and one of the most influential comic strips as well. Don't Dare Close Your Eyes. This is a cool game. Anything Capcom made was pretty solid. So, It's Always Fair Weather is the Super Mario story in this, by John Walker, Don Danglo, Pizarro, Jude, and Rainbow Head. Usually there's a company, I guess, that assisted in colors. Okay, so the little Toadstool characters are having a little fair here in Mushroom Kingdom. And Mario's walking around and he sees like a flower area where they're showing off different plants and stuff. Here's the king posing beside a king standee. And here's Bowser walking around, and Mario's like, "You're late," and it turns out to be Luigi in a Bowser costume. And what it is they have a Dunk the Bowser contest, so people throw a ball at this target and attempt to dunk Bowser, which is really Luigi in disguise. And here's Toad selling all the tickets for this. And so this guy, like, whiffs it. And then he's like, "Give him the slider." And I guess there was a guy dressed as a Shy Guy, or is an actual Shy Guy there. I don't know. They're in the new movie, by the way, which is kind of cool. So they're from part 2. And I guess they carried on into other games. So he gives the slider, and then Luigi as Bowser gets dunked. Meanwhile, the real Bowser with one of the characters from Super Mario Brothers 3, the bone version of the Koopa Troopas, and these guys are in the movie as well. It's awesome. Anyways, he sees that they have a Dunk the Bowser contest, so he goes down to see. And meanwhile, Mario is looking at these the garden and everything, and he decides to pick his teeth with a leaf. I don't know. Anyways, it's the magic leaf from Super Mario Bros. 3, which turns him into a half raccoon guy. So he's walking around like that. That's cool. Any kid from this time would have loved this, because you wanted to see more of the Super Mario Bros. 3 stuff, where he's the raccoon and everything. So, the real Bowser's walking around being annoyed by everybody. And he's like, "Screw this, I'm going to cause some mayhem." So he creates like a tornado out of the propellers of his little helicopter. And it goes and it threatens all these kids in these balloons. And so the princess is like, I don't know what to do here. And the king, for some reason, there's like a gust of wind blowing up his pants. I don't know. I don't get it. It looks really rude. So anyways, Bowser's like, okay, I did my job. I'm taking off now. And Mario doesn't really know how this raccoon thing works, but he does fly, takes off. They're stunned by this. And he gathers up all the balloons and lands them safely. And then the princess kisses him. And he's high off of that. And bumps into Bowser and loses his raccoon powers. And so he turns on the cyclone and then function of the helicopter and whirls Bowser right into the dunk tank. And then there you have it. That's the adventure. This is the way Bowser was depicted, without the coloring on his face. That's the way he was in the cartoons of the time as well. He's usually called King Koopa. In the original Super Mario Brothers manual, they call him Bowser, King of the Koopas. Usually in most media of this time, they call him King Koopa. But sometimes they squeeze in that he's Bowser as well. This is the early days of the franchise, right? And the princess is called Princess Toadstool. And nowadays, people know her as Peach. I used to get confused between this princess and Daisy. Daisy was the Super Mario Land princess, a completely different princess. Early days, right? Early days of the franchise. Disney Adventures magazine, I used to collect these all the time. They were great. They were for kids. They had interviews with celebrities. They had Disney comics based on the Disney Afternoon cartoons. They're pretty cool. So here's an ad for Nintendo Comics and Stories #1. This is an anthology comic, which is a larger scale than a regular comic. This one features stories from Super Mario Bros. 3, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and Captain N, the Game Master. And here's a one-page Mario family album, the early years, from John Walker, Don Danglo, P. Zorito, Ken Lopez, and Kingman Huey. So here you've got he's a baby, he's learning to plumb, he tries to fix his father's pipe and makes it just a bubble pipe. He's playing sports with a plunger, and here's something weird where Luigi is the younger brother, and they say Mario can fix any leak, and here obviously he's wet his Pampers, and Mario's gonna do something dangerous with him, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, here's an ad from Mile High Comics to mail away for certain comics, regardless of what country you're from, etc. Here's a little editorial. I don't know if this is from Jim Shooter himself, who founded Valiant. But it's basically an introduction of of Captain N and all that stuff. Anyways, what if you could travel into the landscape, past the castle and over the Block Mountain to the Cloud 9 betting store, or even to King Bowser Koopa's old high school? So they mentioned Howard Phillips here, who was instrumental in Nintendo's success in the United States. He was a consultant and a spokesperson for Nintendo. He was involved with a lot of the big high-profile milestones of Nintendo, and I guess he was involved with the founding of these comics as well. He left around this year, 1991. So there you have it. It's a fairly interesting time capsule. Play Like a Monster, Nintendo Power Magazine. The first issue was Super Mario Brothers 2, and it was like a claymation cover or something. Here they're advertising Mario 3, DuckTales, which is a great game. Ad for Nintendo Comics System #2, which we went through on this channel. So here's a 2-page origin of Captain N. There's Video Game Land. Here's the princess. Here's all the different video games. Kid Icarus, Punch Out, Metroid. I don't know. I think this is just actual Video Game Land itself. And here's Mother Brain from Metroid. Donkey Kong the way it was depicted in the DIC cartoon Captain N. Eggplant Wizard from Kid Icarus. King Hippo from Punch Out. Some dude, I don't know what that guy's from. So in the Captain N cartoon, the roster was Mega Man, who's not in this comic, Simon Belmont from the Castlevania games, who's not in this comic, Kid Icarus, who's a Nintendo character, and that was it. In this roster, it's Kid Icarus, Princess Lana, the Captain N guy, and Samus, I guess. Because it's a Nintendo character, they can license that, but they couldn't get Mega Man and Simon Belmont. So this is about the computer that runs Princess Lana's kingdom is going haywire. That's because King Hippo and Eggplant Wizard, who are also Nintendo characters, so I guess that's the commonality. They injected a virus into their system, but they also accidentally did it to the Metroid World system as well. So here's Mother Brain from Metroid slowly dying, and Captain N and the team barge in to try and find the antidote or whatever. And they find King Hippo and Eggplant Wizard in distress, and they all team up to figure out what to do. And they figure, okay, we gotta go in to Mother Brain's memories, her brain, and figure out where the antidote is, because it's somewhere. So they shrink down this ship with Captain N and the team in it. They fly into Mother Brain, and somehow they fly into her memories. I don't know how. They land there, and they're fought off by a bunch of evil versions of themselves. So here they are fighting these guys. Here's King Hippo and all that stuff. Here's an evil Captain N, an evil Princess Lana. There's a girl who helps them out, and they ask who she is, but she doesn't say. So she says, what you're looking for is in there. So they go and they find this image of a canister. And this girl fights them off and everything, and they're like, who was that? So they fly out, and they tell Eggplant Wizard that he's sitting on the actual canister that holds the antidote for the virus. So they're all restored, and they restore Mother Brain. She's waking up, so they have to leave. Then they realize that the girl that saved them is the good side of like the little bit of good left in Mother Brain. And they have an opportunity to kill Mother Brain, but they don't. And Captain N's like, that's because like that, you know, if I kill her, I kill that girl that helped us. And there's a little bit of good in her, and you know, and there's your big lesson there. So that's the story. Yay. You know, I wasn't really big into Captain N, and I didn't really read a lot of the Captain N comics at the time. I'm sure if I did, I'd be really disappointed that it's not actually Captain N from the cartoons. Because that show was fairly big. You can make fun of it all you want, but it lasted a fairly long time. Here's a clever ad that uses one of the mini games of Super Mario Bros. 3. Pick a box, its contents will help you on your way to fun. So here's Super Mario Bros. 3 Adventures, which we're reading right now. Super Mario Bros. Number 1. Game Boy number 1. I have that lying around somewhere. And Legend of Zelda. I have all of these. There you have it. Nintendo Comics get the behind the screen story. So this is a subscription page for Mario, Legend of Zelda, Nintendo Comics System, and Adventures of Super Mario Brothers. I don't know how long Nintendo Comics System lasted. And what I like about Game Boy's not on here. Game Boy was basically a Super Mario Land comic. basically. So it had Tatanga and Daisy and all that. Here's Mickey Mousecapade, which is a Capcom game. It's also very good, very solid platformer. Wow, Mickey and Minnie, an exciting game adventure. Cool. Warning, this game may be hard to get away from your family. Sure. And here's an interesting ad. So, electronic LCD games were big at this time, and I'm sure they look hideously prehistoric to kids today. But basically what they were is like sort of like lighting in the background, like the stuff that makes digital clocks was made into games. Here, Acclaim made their own versions. So it's Arch Rivals, The Simpsons, Bigfoot, Total Recall, that's cool, Iron Sword, and my favorite arcade, Narc, was turned into this. I've never found one of these in the wild. But there's a whole line of these things. Pretty cool. I wouldn't mind getting the Narc version of this, man, and playing it. So there you have it. Adventures of Super Mario Bros. Number 1 from 1991. The early days of the Mario franchise. I hope you enjoyed.